this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Chigorin Queen's Gambit. This is the characteristic move, and honestly, I don't feel any need to get into any sort of hardcore theoretical duel with the Chigorin. We're just going to get a solid position where we're slightly better, and we're going to work our opponent. So, knight f3, happy to go into it. Bishop g4, and this is where c takes d gets into a theoretical line and lots of trades, all this kind of good stuff, but I like keeping tension and just developing our pieces because this is an open position, or it will be very soon, and I'm encouraging black to go ahead and take on f3 at his leisure here. So knight c3. So let's go ahead and start with this. If he takes on f3, we're going to capture towards the center, put our bishop on f4, and don't want to allow triple pawns. That's not going to do. And what you'll see is this structure, even though it looks a bit odd, we got the this diamond type structure stemming from the f2 pawn. But I really, really like the strength of the structure because we have a free hand on the queen side to be able to attack, which we see very effectively in this game. White coordinates without difficulty, and an attack never really got started for black, and we just trade down to the better ending. So this is the general type of plan of what you're looking for, and this is following a game from the Croatian championship from the women's championship from 2009, where 4 pawns, even though we've got a bishop of opposite color ending, 4 pawns is definitely enough to be able to push through and get the win, especially when these 2 pawns aren't going anywhere because of our pawn and bishop. So that'll kick things off with, don't be intimidated by the double pawns. This is what they're hoping for, is when you get in this position, something like e3, so they can blow up the board and go e5 and try to get things nasty in the position, and why allow it? You don't have to. Knight c3, e6, and c takes d, bishop f4, back to our old faithful structure. Now let's take a look at a game between Kramnik and Short from Dresden 2008. We've got bishop d6. Typical. When you see bishop d6, you're dropping back to g3. Black is not going to want to capture here because after h takes, we're already getting the open file for free, and it's just unnecessary for black. So we'll see the tension be kept in the position. a3, a nice pawn lever is prepared here with a3. If black castles queenside, we already have b4, and we're starting our attack. Castle's kingside is a bit more solid, so we're just going to finish our develop normally here. And white now takes the time to capture on d6 because he's prepared to castle. If we were to castle, this pawn structure is inferior to having, say, the full set on the second rank. So we're going to capture on d6, queen g3, happy to go to this ending where our bishop, we have the good bishop, is better than a knight counterpart. b4, stemming minority attack plans, knight a4, looking for that great c5 square, and white's position just seems pretty effortless to play here. Takes. I probably would have taken before castles for the reasons mentioned earlier, but who am I to really question a boss like Kramnik? Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, forking the rooks, and we get one of those rare situations to where the minor pieces are not as strong as the rooks, and Kramnik shows great technique, as is typical in this time period, with putting the opponent away. Open files are needed for the rooks, and black's just in a ball, can't really do anything with the knights. And that's how this game ended, with the big threat of rook a1 mate, which doesn't look like it can be stopped. So coming on back, The main line, and I believe our final variation, not too much to the Chigorin if you play the way that I'm showing you here. Bishop takes f3 again, and which way do we capture? Towards the center. G takes. Bishop g3. When we're attacked, we're just going to drop back. Now after h5, we're seeing this move again. a3, flexible, gives the lever for either minority attack or going after the black king if castle's queenside. h4 has forced our hand, so we're going to take. f4, flexible, controlling key squares, and giving our queen the ability to come out to f3 or g4 if necessary. Bishop h3, good square for the b, trying to provoke black into making extra weakness here. Like if he wants to castle queenside, he'll have to pay for it, but in the meantime, that makes this g6 pawn weak in the long term. So knight d8, queen b3, just kind of bottling him up a little bit, and we're safe on the queen side. Like I said, that's a bit of a concession, and at this point, black has touched every pawn except the a pawn, so if the position ever opens up, black is more than likely going to be in trouble. So knight b4, we get rid of our double pawn and simply reorganize. And I really like this game as, again, we see this type of situation where white did little outside of get preparation and then had good technique to get to an ending where it's a bishop in an open position versus a knight, and white's going to have the better of it. Not much can be done by black here other than get kicked around, and we get a winning rook and pawn endgame. Very clean technique from the Russian Higher League in 2013. So, major takeaways of the Chigorin. We're not concerned with being captured on f3, and we just want to get this kind of ideal position. Both knights out. Knight on c3, knight on f3, bishop on f4. Much in the style of, say, a pseudo-London system. It's just solid, it's effective, and black has got to worry, and he's got to make some changes here. If we see a move like bishop d6, we drop back automatically. If we take with the g-pawn. And that'll pretty much do it for the Chigorin.